Hey everyone, my name is Leslie LaCourte and I am giving you my video update. I apologize, it's a little bit late. We were right in the middle of Mary Poppins, literally in the middle when this was due. So hopefully I will get this uploaded really quickly to you. I know I'm supposed to update you on the classes I'm currently teaching. So we are transitioning right now from our third term into our fourth term of the year. So I was teaching speech and intro to acting and stagecraft, but we're now moving into our last term of the year. And at that point, I will only have 2 speech classes and an advanced theater class that's called theater performance, where the students are supposed to do all aspects of production. Obviously, they can't build a set in that time frame, but we do usually run a show and they act in a show. So that's what's coming up. That starts Monday. So what's on my mind right now as far as teaching and my program that I run is obviously we have to choose our shows for next year. So that's always tricky, trying to figure out what will fit our kids and what will attract students who right now are not participating. And then teaching-wise, I'm always redeveloping curriculum for my theater classes. So intro to acting tends to just be a dumping ground where the counselors put kids in there just to give them a credit. And so I'm always trying to change that class up a little bit, depending on who has been enrolled in there and how many kids I have. And then stagecraft, which is really successful in my building because I'm a technical theater person, but in the other high schools in our district, they don't have such great luck with that class. So we're always shuffling those things around, and that is something that we have to work on in the very near future so that we can get classes updated for the fall. So interests currently that I'm kicking around, one of the things is as I start to do more research on how to incorporate students' own stories into my classes. I am not a playwriting person, so adding those elements into, say, an acting class, that's a little tricky for me. So I'm doing a little bit of research on that. And also I'm always looking for new ways where we can incorporate acting warm-ups into actual acting practice, because I think that's where kids have a disconnect. The warm-ups are fun. They get to know each other a little bit. They establish some trust in the classroom, but we don't necessarily use those skills for developing characters. So that's something I'm looking into. Current challenges, of course, are just disinterested kids who've been placed in classes, kids who get placed in acting class and won't act. And then we also have a pretty significant problem here with students who don't attend school. They just don't show up. And a lot of students who are not motivated by learning or earning grades. So those are just constant challenges. Also, my personal challenge then is kind of balancing schedules, extracurricular program versus what I'm doing in the classroom. So that's always a challenge. So anyway, moving on to what I think I'm going to work on. I have theater performance students who are starting Monday, and it's only 4 kids in that class. They've all taken intro to acting already, and 3 of them already participate in the extracurricular program. So I have a pretty strong group to do some experimenting with. So I think I will end up doing a lot with them that's experimental this term because we have a lot of time. But also as far as a focal point for them, since they've already decided that theater has a place in their lives, this is a class where normally we would sit and we would read some scripts that are perhaps a little bit more recently written than the things that they read in a regular lit class. And we usually work through a bunch of those scripts and choose one that they think they would like to tackle. Generally, those tend to be a little bit more adult than what they get to do in a regular drama program because we're going to end up with a short black box production with a very small audience. So we have a little bit more freedom. So I think what I want to do this time is to actually have them be the director, producer of this, starting from the very beginning. So talking about issues and themes that they are particularly and personally interested in, and then tackling the choice that way, where they would be looking for literature that is appropriate for those issues, and then they will have to go through the whittled down process together as a production team, the 4 of them. So we'll have to narrow down themes to less than 3 probably, and then have to whittle down scripts that would work or not work. They do have flexibility in that they could choose excerpts. They don't even have to do a completed work, but that will be something that they would decide on their own. So my goals in this, first of all, would be that will ensure that the students take ownership of the project, because it is still a class, and if they're not necessarily academically motivated, maybe they will be because they're the creative directors. Also, I think it will help them understand creativity a little bit better, that it's not just brilliant ideas that blossom out of nowhere, but it's actually a process, and working in a small group should be able to help them see how a lot of creativity is problem solving. And then I also think it will help students make and understand realistic choices in theater. We need to base our selections on what we need, what they need to express, what their interests are, but we also have constraints. Time constraints, budget constraints, community constraints, as far as what's appropriate for an audience that they're going to get here. So I'm hoping the results would be more engagement from these students, that other students might see this process and hear them talk about this process and then be interested themselves, and that we would just get students more vested in theater and the entire process of theater, as opposed to just acting or just doing backstage work. So I think I could actually see results in the short term, but I also think we could get results for the long term as far as changing planning, and maybe different numbers, hopefully more students enrolled in this type of class. So that's my plan right now. I hope you're all doing well, and we'll probably be talking to you soon. Thanks.